First things first, thanks for allowing me to do this. I know it's unconventional. Obviously I find it hard speaking about this, as you heard on the phone, because I'm jumping from one subject to another subject. It's going to take me a couple of recordings of this to explain this story. And at first, when I explain the beginning of this, you'll think to yourself, like, why am I talking about such and such issue? It has nothing to do with what I'm trying to bring a case against. But I just want to highlight how certain people have it in their interests, because they have been rubbing shoulders with other people that are kind of involved in this situation. So in order to explain all of this, I have to go way, way back, unfortunately, to 2008. But I just want to highlight right now, briefly, what's going on. Like, today is the 24th of September, Tuesday. 2 days ago, there was cocaine left in my car on the dashboard as a message to me. In 2022, there was cocaine and heroin planted in my home. And I was given a warning that if I was to kind of continue doing what I was doing, as in speaking about certain things within Waterford, that the next time I wouldn't be told about the heroin and cocaine, that the guards would be told first. So 2 days ago, the cocaine that was left in my car on my dashboard was a message. It's been more or less kind of harassment for kind of the past decade, being honest with you. And there's things I'm going to talk about, being honest with you, and it's probably going to make me look unhinged or paranoid or delusional. Unfortunately, this is all kind of part of what's being pushed in an effort to try and discredit me. There's a person living up over me, and there's been kind of multiple complaints about this person. He strategically has been placed up there by bodies within Waterford City Council to basically harass us day in, day out. And as I go into my videos, my wife wants to say a few words and she wants to speak about the stuff that we're going through on a day-to-day basis, just to give you some kind of insight about what it's like. And more importantly, like, I'll give you some kind of insight into the stuff that we're going through on a daily basis. The abuse of human rights regarding this whole situation is immense, and the corruption involved in this case, like, there's nothing to reference this kind of corruption from anything in Ireland. I know there's been cases up and down Ireland throughout the years of kind of grave corruption, but this is like on another level. Hence the reason I find it very difficult to talk about this. And as you heard on the phone, I find it very difficult talking about certain situations, the likes of like the passing of my parents, who I never really got to grieve, if I'm being honest with you. Their passing was weaponised in an effort to try and kind of provoke me or to make me look mentally unstable. So I just want to clarify, I have no mental health issues. I never have, never did. I'm open to any checks. I've never been in prison for any kind of like sexual stuff. I've never been accused of any of this horrible stuff ever in my life, despite what they're going around saying socially. I'm open to anyone looking into any of this also. I have been in prison like 20 odd years ago for drugs and kind of fighting with guards and kind of stupid stuff growing up, being honest with you. Misspent you. God forbid I move on from it. So I just want to highlight 2 or 3 kind of things, and then I'll go back to the very start and I'll explain all this. So, because I just want to highlight the importance of people that are involved in this and just their connections, and give you some kind of insight of how much pull these people have. At the moment, I've kind of run in on kind of the ex-minister, ex-mayor John Halligan. His family has multiple years of allegations about him regarding their carry on up around children's grouping. This has been 3.5 decades been covered up, allegations of kind of sexual misconduct, grooming, this kind of stuff. And one of the brothers, Henry Halligan, he actually interfered in my mother's funeral there. He interfered with our funeral arrangements. He was the secretary out in Ballybeg Church. This is where this person is hiding. This is one of the brothers hiding. This person has his own allegations attached to him many years ago, and I've been pointing out how this person, despite his allegations, was allowed to walk in amongst the children's charity, and only then when certain kind of issues started kind of coming up did they get rid of him. But he left there and then he went into Mount Sion School, which is a Christian Brothers school in Waterford. I've been highlighting all of this. But this is a brother of our ex-minister, ex-mayor John Halligan. That charity is run by Mary Halligan, which is the sister of the ex-minister, ex-mayor John Halligan. This woman knows 90% of all the allegations. She failed to follow protocol. In an effort a couple of years ago to try and cover up her actions, they renamed the place the Mary Halligan Foundation, formerly Children's Group Link. I've been very vocal about this. I put up videos about this online. I've been very, very vocal about this. I spoke about how the Bishop Cullinan in Waterford covered for Henry Halligan. That's why he's out hiding out in Ballybeg Church pretending he's a man of God. Tried to distance himself from kind of allegations from years ago. I grew up around this person, actually, I forgot to say. So I would have known kind of hands-on what this person was like, as does a lot of my friends. Then there's another brother, Ray Halligan. There's a video of this person now, and he trying to pass a threat through me to one of the girls that was trying to come forward to try and have a voice regarding all this stuff. But again, he got his actions covered from Waterford Gardaí, because Waterford Gardaí have failed the whole kind of policing of that matter. If you look to the whole Bill Keneally case, I'm unsure if you're aware of this, but if you look to the Bill Keneally case, it's the same Garda station. The allegations that were coming forward were around the same time as the Bill Keneally thing. They don't like me speaking about this. But that'll give you one kind of circumstance of how grave this situation is. And then there's a solicitor involved in the case, a previous solicitor, Leona MacDonald. I've been vocal about this. I put all of this out online. I've named her. In the effort that if she wanted to bring me to court, I was okay with facing court as a defendant, that I would like a chance to show that this woman corrupted my case. I caught this woman in a consultation room with my ex. I caught her winking over at my ex when my back was turned. I caught her corrupting my case, and they had a meeting behind me back in Waterford Courthouse, and they tried to transfer my case up to Dublin. Behind me back, I wasn't notified of this meeting. I only found out when I got a letter off the court clerk the following day saying that my case had been rejected. Other than that, I didn't even know. Miss MacDonald's view was that my ex didn't get what she was looking for, so what's my problem? That was her attitude. And then when I applied, and then when I wanted me file, and then I got me file in 2019. And she was after editing the file. She after taking off all the direction I was after giving her regarding the file, all the corresponding emails, and on for a year and a half. To cut a long story short about my ex to court, I'll explain all this when I get to it, because this story is going to be very crazy and very hard to believe, so I'll just explain it from the start. And she basically deleted my file before I even got to have a look at it. I wasn't happy about this. So I contacted the Law Society. The Law Society said that she had a legal obligation to retain all aspects of my file for 5 years. So then I contacted her and I said I would like a second copy of my file with all the stuff that she removed out of my file left in the file. And that she had 5 years to retain the file. She said the 5 years was up and this is why she deleted my file. I said I'd log into my email account and I just download my own emails, because I'd have the sent and the received on my emails to prove my case. But my emails had been hacked. And all the emails that Miss MacDonald had removed from her file were the same emails that had been hacked and removed and deleted from my file. In an effort to hide her actions were the same emails that somebody hacked into my account and deleted all my emails. So I couldn't prove that the 5 years wasn't up. And then my wife got me into Google Cloud a couple of months after, and I was able to retrieve a lot of the emails. And sure enough, the dates on the emails, as I had been saying, shows that the 5 years was not up, and for whatever reason she had deleted my file. This here's a letter sent to me from Miss MacDonald on the 25th of January 2021. There it is there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but all these letters, they're all available. I'm not going to bombard you with paperwork because there's so much paperwork, but it's all there on the memory stick. I'll wait for you to ask me for it or whichever paperwork that you want to see. And I'll just read it quickly. I refer to the above matter and confirm that your file was archived after my involvement with the case finished, and after 5 years it was destroyed. I had no concerns about destroying the file, as I had already given you a copy of the same some years previous. I did communicate this to you by phone some weeks ago, and I explained to you that there would be some documentation available which could be printed from our case management system, but this would only contain documents that were generated from this office, and we do not scan all post or documents received. As you can see, this is the kind of stuff that goes on every time I try to explain the kind of story. But that's basically her saying that she deleted my file. And that was the 25th of January 2021. I just need to hide the top letter of this. And here is the correspondence And here the correspondence is, there you go, you can see it there, it's the 25th. And here's a correspondence from Miss MacDonald, it's the 25th of May 2016. So obviously 5 years on to that would be the 25th of May 2021. But here she is in January. And this is the stuff that's going on now every time I try and explain the story. And this is being implemented with the assistance of Waterford Gardaí and Waterford City Council. And I'll explain all this story, but I'll give you some kind of idea of what's going on. But it shows that the 5 years was not up, and for whatever reason, she deleted my file. So I need to just explain the start of this, because I need to go right back to give you some kind of context of where this all began. So I met my ex in 2008 in Ashery residential rehab. I'm from Waterford City. She was from Ballymun in Dublin. She had a daughter from a previous relationship. The child was 3, I think, when I met her. I got her pregnant pretty quick when we came out of Ashery. And in Ashery, there was people in it from Dublin, and they kind of begged me, stay away from this woman, stay away from her, that she was kind of bad news. When the trainers and the counsellors found out that we were in a relationship, they called me aside, the same thing, they begged me, stay away from her, she's bad news. The day before I was due to kind of come out of rehab, they called me aside and they asked me, like, having an issue with this woman's lack of empathy, because we were in the same groups with each other. And I gave her the benefit of the doubt, but they begged me to stay away from her. They basically said I was too soft for her. They basically said I was too soft for her. So we started a relationship in Tramore and Waterford. And when I came out of rehab, I came out first 2 weeks before her. I was advised to that I wanted to hang around the same circles of friends for 2 years. And then she was advised, because her family had come in, people's family comes in and they give feedback and stuff. And they said basically her people pleasing was affecting her at being a daughter and being a mother that she had. So but she was told not to cut hair for 2 years. She was advised not to cut hair for 2 years. That it created some kind of imbalance on her. She spent most of the time in rehab blaming it on her mother. She's on the Two Norries podcast in 2022. The same thing. She brings me up on the Two Norries in 2022 for whatever reason. Thinks that she can say Lily's father in Waterford, and she talks about me having a drug conviction and all this kind of stuff. Anything to destroy anything that I have. She's a very nasty kind of person, and I'm not here to be like throwing names around or being spiteful, because it's not about being spiteful. I just want to show the character of this person. And the Two Norries, there you go, they had to issue me an apology over the stuff that she said on the podcast. But I'll get to all of that stuff as I explain the story, if that's okay. But as we came out of Ashery, obviously I didn't hang around the old home. She went back cutting hair after, say, 3 to 5 months. She was pregnant after I'd say 3 or 4 months, if I'm being honest with you. But she went back cutting hair to the point then I got so out of hand. I've never in my life seen this behaviour from someone. So I didn't really know how to deal with it, or how to cope with it, being honest with you. And when she did have her child, then she just went back cutting hair. It's just her whole time was taken up with craving the attention she got from cutting hair. She's a good hairdresser. She worked for Peter Marks in Dublin. She even worked for RT at one stage. But this, I can't emphasise this strange erratic behaviour that she had. On top of that, then she would do some of the most nastiest of the nastiest stuff to destroy people's lives. And I realised pretty quick that I didn't love her, that I didn't even like her as a person, if I'm being honest with you. And I know that sounds crass and it's going to make me look horrible, but I had a son in a previous relationship when I was about 16, and I felt I failed him, so I tried to stay in there to do the right thing. But this woman's, all she craved was the attention that she got. It was insane. She was in a woman's group in Tramore that was on once a week, and they had a small kitty, and they would pay €50 to people to come up once a week and give a talk, and she would give the €50 to our hairdresser client. All our clients, she had loads of clients out in Tranmore, sorry I forgot to say, she had loads and loads of clients, to the point where even the hairdressers were even making complaints that she was putting them out of business. That's how kind of many clients she has. She would get up at 9 in the morning, and you'd be lucky if she came back at 9 that night. And if you said that, and then she'd just say she wasn't maternal, and like, it is what it is. I'm not kind of trading insults or any of this kind of stuff. That's just the way it was. And in this woman's group, she was the one giving the €50 to her to the husbands of our hair clients. And after about a year of this, people in the group kind of obviously got sick of it. And our best friend, who never judged her from her past, being honest with you, like, they had a good idea to collect the seaweed from the beach at Tranmore. She wanted to go in to do the whole collagen kind of stuff. Something to do with collagen, makeup kind of removal. I'm not too sure what it was. In the break they had, so they decided to have a vote the following week. And in that week, she rang around all the other girls in the group and got them all to vote against her best friend. Like, it's that kind of like nasty stuff that she done all the time. If I was working up in the house myself doing a bit of work, if there was a girl up there or a woman up there that she deemed anyway better looking than her, she would insist on coming up collecting me. This kind of strange behaviour, like, this control and strange behaviour. When I did try and get away from her in the end, I had to agree that she could go around and tell her friends that she broke up with me first. Which I didn't mind, because I just wanted to get away from this woman, if I'm being honest with you. But that's the kind of character of this person. Now, this person went in only a year ago and lodged a safety order on my daughter's birthday, my daughter's first birthday. She waited till I was getting married in 2019. She agreed that the kids could be the bridesmaids. As soon as I bought the kids the bridesmaid dresses, then she withdrew the kids out of the wedding. Pulled the kids out of the wedding. She sent summonses to my wife's parents' house. She's after lodging 4 safety orders, I think, and 3 maintenance orders. I never missed a week's maintenance ever. But I need to go back now to the start. You'll be wondering why I'm explaining all of this, which is understandable. So as you can see, they're doing everything and anything to prevent this story from getting out, because of the corruption involved. In 2017, 2 workers, Roisin Doherty and Leo Kennedy, 2 Waterford City Council workers, got caught searching my mother's bedroom. My mother woke up and found the 2 of these searching her bedroom. They didn't see my mother in the bed. She had loads of cushions on the bed, and they never seen her. So my mother woke up and she said, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" And the 2 of them ran out the door. And my mother was kind of worried. She was concerned. There's a whole story about this. I was made look like a paedophile, because I'll be uploading this online. I've uploaded everything. I'll give you the links and all of this kind of stuff. I don't have any issue with this. I'm willing to face any legal action. And they went around, and it was spread through Waterford Gardaí, spread through Waterford Council. It was spread everywhere. You name it, it was spread everywhere. Right now they're spreading it all over Ireland in an effort to destroy my character. But it is what it is. I've gotten over the worst, to be honest with you. This was all arranged by Dr. Anne Carey, and then I have to go back and I'll have to explain all this kind of situation of Dr. Anne Carey and who she is and why she's involved. So the only thing that my ex and myself really had in common, being honest, was taking drugs. And we would hire hotels, we would get a babysitter, we would hire a hotel room, go there, take drugs, watch pornography, have sex to consenting adults. And then I had an apartment. I had another apartment in Tranmore. I moved out to get away from her. As I said, it was on the agreement that she could tell everyone that she broke up with me. I didn't really care, being honest with you. I just wanted to get away from this woman. And the first time I moved out, she got the kids to beg me to move back. To be honest with you, she didn't have a kind of babysitter that was willing to mind the kids all day, every day. That's the truth of it. I'm not going to say she missed me, because that's the truth of it. So I went back because I wanted to be able to say no to the kids. Everyone in Tranmore and Waterford knew it was me around the kids. Everyone in Tranmore knew. They see me every single day around the kids. So I went back. Then the second time again, she was supposed to cut back on the hair. This was the usual thing. We went in for counselling. We both went in for drug counsel. This was in Brook House, something, St. Dothran's. St. Dothran's would be a mental health hospital in Waterford. But on the grounds of it, they also have Brook House, which is a drug facility. And this will all come back into it now later. And the second time I was moved out, I was given an apartment by Catherine O'Brien from Raz in Waterford City Council. And they had to tell the tenant below that I would only have the kids the weekend. But I ended up having the kids almost every night. That's just the way it is. As I've been saying, it's the way it is. She had no babysitter. I didn't mind taking the kids. So when the youngest child would come into the apartment, it was a house split in half, sorry. So when the youngest child came into the house, I used to have pull-out beds, and they were on wheels, kind of fold-out beds, because it was only a one-bed apartment. So when the youngest child used to come in, she used to run and jump on the bed, and the bed would kind of like move across the floor on wheels. And obviously it was aggravating your man down below. To be honest with you, the house wasn't suitable for two apartments. He was always throwing the kids dirty looks kind of after this, and kind of, I obviously tried to say nothing, but then he passed comments to the kids one day. I took exception to it, and we ended up having a few words. And he ran to Waterford City Council complaining, saying that I was after threatening him. I kind of did threaten him in a way. I told him that he wanted to ever speak to the kids ever again for his own sake. And that's the truth of it. This person's name was Tony Kelly, and it's important you remember this person's name, because this person later on was put living next to me mother by Waterford City Council. So Catherine O'Brien apologised for this fella's behaviour, that apparently he has a name around the area for doing this kind of stuff. So she got me an apartment in Apollonian. So she got me an apartment in Galway's Hill, Apollonian Apartments. But again, after a couple of weeks, my ex would get the kids to ring up and beg me to move back. And I wanted to say no to the kids, if I'm being honest with you. It's as simple as that. And then one day I knocked at the door, and she had a stranger minding the kids. Like, this is what she would do. It didn't matter who was minding the kids, as long as she didn't have the kids. Like, it didn't matter. That's just the way it was. So that's why I moved back. And I moved back on the condition that we get a parenting agreement drawn up, which we had drawn up. She signed me over the kids 6 days a week. That documentation is still available. And also, I wanted to go and do something with my life. I didn't want to be kind of rearing the kids. I did want to be rearing the kids, but I also wanted to go and to kind of do something in my life, make something in my life. So we agreed I was going to do a psychology course in 2013 in Tranmore ETB, which I signed up for. And that course was taught by Pat Carey. So I went to the course, and I attended the course, and I was explaining it. And I knew Pat Carey from when I was 16. He was a woodwork teacher down in Newbridge when I was 16, and I didn't see him in all those years, and kind of like, he was just a teacher. I didn't know him. And I was asking him how he ended up teaching psychology, because he was originally a woodwork teacher, and he was telling me that he wanted to help his wife spread the word. And he was asking me how I ended up in Tranmore. And I was telling him basically that I went through residential rehab, and I met this woman from Ballymun. I'm going to stop here now, if you don't mind, because that's just going to keep going on. I just have to make another video, and I'll continue again, because there's no point in trying to go on with this. But I'll give you some kind of insight of how desperate these people are to try and cover up what's going on. Because it speaks of members of Waterford City Council covering up corruption. It speaks of a charity covering up child abuse. It speaks of how Waterford Gardaí have fanned the flames of this. And I know this is going to all sound unbelievable. So just bear with me and just hear me out. As I said to you on the phone, like, this is unbelievable. And I know I don't come across too well trying to explain this on the phone, but just hear me out, and then you can ask me any question about anything. There's a lot of paperwork there. I'm not going to bombard you with the paperwork. I said this already. But I'll provide whatever paperwork you ask. So I'll leave it there, because he's just going to keep doing this kind of every time I try and make a video. So I'll be back. Thanks. Just want to continue where I left off yesterday. Obviously I had to stop over the drilling from up above. This is an ongoing thing, this kind of behaviour, I'll be honest with you. But I'm just back in there now, and I'm just followed from A to B by a lot of people within the town, and a lot of cronies to politicians and to Waterford Council and Waterford Gardaí, and I'll explain all this as I go along. I don't want to bring a case against everybody. I've explained this to you before. I only want to bring a case against Waterford Gardaí and Waterford City Council. But I need to explain the involvement of people involved, to give context on why these people would be involved, and the relationship to other people involved. I explained there at the start of the video how there was cocaine placed in my car there Sunday. And I know you told me that I should report everything and anything of a criminal matter. But as I explained to you, like a lot of this kind of stuff, but a lot of the flames of this kind of situation, it's been fanned by Waterford Gardaí. I'll explain as I go into it further, like how I've been assaulted by Waterford Gardaí, how they kind of doctored paperwork, which I still have the paperwork to show so I can prove what I'm on about there, how GSOC mixed up me files. Only a couple of weeks ago there I was nearly run over by Waterford Gardaí. This is an ongoing thing, like there's like so many issues regarding Waterford Gardaí and Waterford City Council. And whereas I speak about kind of the actions of the owner MacDonald, who was a solicitor involved in the case, and I'm aware I probably have enough evidence to bring a case against her, but I don't have the time, to be honest with you. All my videos, everything I say, I put up online. I'm doing this years. I'm putting this up online, in part for transparency, in part to try and see if I could goad them into bringing me to court. If I'm being honest with you, I was prepared to kind of face the unthinkable in the courtroom. And realistically, I wouldn't have had a solicitor or a barrister, so I would have been on my own. But I know enough to know there's enough evidence there to prove my case. But they know all this, and this is the situation. So the best place to start with all this is at the beginning, which I kind of skimmed over at the start, meeting my ex in Ashery, and the whole situation with her and her behaviour, this kind of strange people-pleasing behaviour. And I don't want to seem like I'm coming across being spiteful, just kind of throwing kind of insults back and forth, because it's not like that. People have relationships, they break up, so be it. They're not compatible. This woman's behaviour is on a new level. This woman has more or less portrayed me as being a paedophile all around Waterford, and then to hide her actions, she would drop me down to 2 girls. So like I was trying to report this, and she was like, sure, I'm giving them the kids. Like, this is the nasty, nasty stuff, and everyone in Waterford like is aware of all this kind of pornography, which she spread, her and this doctor Anne Carey, which I want to speak about in a minute. And this was done on 3 times. I've explained this to you before. It was done at the end of 2015, 2016. It was done again in 2017, and it was done again in 2019. And it was done in 2019. It was to ruin a business idea that I had to open a tattoo school in Waterford. I was after applying for all the loans and all this, and I got approved, and then there wasn't enough money, so I had to apply for extra loans in another place. So there's loads of paperwork around the whole idea of this. And she came down and ruined that idea. And now she's passing off the Here Together programme, which is being promoted up in Dublin by Tussle. That's actually my idea. All my paperwork precedes hers by about 18 months, 2 years. But that's a whole story. I'll explain all of this situation. And I'll set you on the phone, and not actually to just take the case, or to just believe me. Just let me explain it, and then I'm open to answering any questions. I'm not going to bombard you with paperwork either. There's a lot of paperwork there, and you would only get bogged down in it. So unless you ask me for the paperwork, I will provide it on a memory stick to you. Some of the paperwork I have given you about allegations regarding a charity in town. Those people came to me after I started talking about how somebody had interfered with my mother's funeral. And these people approached me about how they were trying to have a voice, and for years they were kind of silenced. By Waterford Gardaí at times, Waterford Gardaí are aware of all the allegations. They've taken statements. They've turned people away. They don't want that whole tin of worms being opened. But as I said, I don't want to bring a case against all these people. As much as they want me to be blaming everyone and anyone, because it takes me further and further away from the root of the problem. I want to bring a case against Waterford City Council and Waterford Gardaí. At the moment, I was advised to write to Waterford City Council for me file again. It's my data. They're obliged to give it to me. They're also legally obliged to correspond with me. They're refusing to answer any of my emails, any of my letters. And this is within the last 12 months alone, because I know the Ombudsman will only deal with the kind of stuff within the last 12 months. But they're trying to cover up the actions of Roisin Doherty and Leo Kennedy, who got caught searching my mother's in 2017. And what happened there, rather than admit fault and even apologise to my mother, which would have meant something, they chose to go down the route of harassing my mother on a daily basis. My mother was absolutely harassed to no end on a daily basis. And this was all covered up by Joe Daniels. And Joe Daniels is the same person who lured myself and my wife into signing over a house, promised us a house swap if we signed the form. We did not believe this. I'll explain all of this as I go because it needs to be explained to give some kind of context into the situation. But Mr. Joe Daniels gave myself and my wife a reference on the letterhead of Waterford City Council. There it is there. That's a photocopy of it, and there's his signature down there. And we found out afterwards that Waterford City Council or any other councils up and down Ireland, as they're state funded, do not give references to anyone ever. And he would have known this, and this was to dupe myself and my wife into signing over the house. He coerced myself and my wife to sign over the house, and we lost all our possessions, all our clothes, lost the house. We continued paying the rent for 13 months. We had to leave the house over the whole situation, which I'll explain. Cronies of Sinn Féin TD David Connan basically kind of pushed us out from the area based on all this sexual slander, which I'll explain. But we continued paying the rent for 13 months. We were told there was going to be an investigation into the antisocial behaviour by the neighbours. So myself and my wife, even though we weren't in the house, we were still paying the rent for 13 months. And then after 13 months, they said, there was no investigation, that we chose to move out. We chose to leave all our possessions. We chose to lose all our furniture. And it just happened to be then that 13 months just happened to be the amount of time that they had to wait where they could implement legal proceedings to take back our house. So it's basically one big, giant, messy cover-up. But there's their reference. Now, they tried on several times to get this reference back of me, the original. Obviously, I haven't given it. And as of now, they won't correspond with me. They won't answer me. They're doing everything and anything to kind of hide their actions. And on a daily basis, we're followed from A to B, and we have the usual kind of wannabe hard men within Waterford, sticking their oar in, being honest with you. And I probably haven't helped myself, being honest with you, in this situation, because I don't take kindly to people trying to bully me or my family. But who would? So I need to go back to the situation. And as I said, things weren't good with my ex. The only thing we had in common was taking drugs. And then I joined the psychology course. She was at the sign the parent agreement, give me the kids 6 days a week. This is still available, this documentation. And in the psychology course, it was taught by Pat Carey, who I explained I knew previously from when I was 16 in Newtridge. And he was talking about how he was Bahoy. Now, I originally thought he said he was bi. You know, I never heard of Bahoy. I left it go over my head. But I heard him saying it to one or two other people in the class. He would wait till the person was kind of on their own away from the group and he'd bring it up. But what it turns out was he was part of the Bahoy faith, and his wife recruits for this. His wife is Dr. Anne Carey. And I was explaining to him how I met my ex, and he was explaining to me how he became a psychologist to kind of to teach this to help his wife spread the word. It still wasn't really after clicking to me. I wouldn't be spiritual, so I wasn't really going to bite on that kind of situation. But he was saving information about where my ex would be, what she does in Waterford. And I was explaining she's in a women's group in Tramore, and that she was a hairdresser and she spends most of the time off doing hair, that I was rearing the kids. And this was me doing something for the first time in kind of many years to try and better my life. And then a couple of days after this class, he was obviously after passing this information on to his wife, who's also a psychologist employed by Waterford Tussle. She's subcontracted by Waterford Tussle, Dr. Anne Carey. And my ex came back and said there was this strange, weird woman outside pretending to be hanging flyers outside. She was hanging around for about an hour, but she didn't bite that time. But she came back the following week, and within sorry not to jump into gun there, and within that time he was getting more and more information out of me about how her relationship was. And to be honest with you, I was saying I was only with her to keep the kids in Tramore, because she was always threatening to take the kids back to Ballymun. This is what she would hold over my head. But then the second week, she got talking to this woman in the hallway outside the women's group, and she was hanging up flyers of free kids play dates, free relationship advice, and on the end of the flyer it said free spiritual nourishment. There was no mention of this Baha'i faith, there was no mention of it being a religion, but she put us down as a couple, as a family. So we went up to the house then a couple of days after, and I got the fright of my life obviously when I went in and I seen that it was the school tutor, the tutor from my psychology course, and obviously he done the whole pretending that he was shocked to see me. I know now looking back it was all clearly set up. And also joined was me ex's best friend. She was in the psychology course with me. She was also like joined this with her kids. And basically over a couple of weeks we started kind of getting lured into this kind of thing more and more. And my ex was telling her, my ex has a habit of blaming everything on her mother. She takes zero responsibility. You can go onto the Two Norries podcast 124. It's the same thing she was blaming her mother. This is what she does all the time. It was the same thing when we were in rehab. She wouldn't take any responsibility for her behaviour. She would constantly blame it on her mother. And this woman recognised this Dr. Anne Carey. And as we were going there over a couple of weeks, I kept saying to my ex, I'm telling you, I know that woman from somewhere. I know that woman from somewhere. But I couldn't pinpoint who this woman was. So I'm just going to explain briefly of who this woman was and the seriousness of this situation. So about 10 years before that, there was allegations against the daughter of a HSE employee regarding her inappropriate behaviour with a minor. And I was asked to sit into the interview in Narkeen Hospital with the minor as a support witness. It was nothing to do with me, I was only there as a witness. I went out there with the minor. We were collected by James Kennedy, who was a Tussla, I'm not sure if he still is, but he was a Tussla employed social worker. And the interview happened out in Narkeen Hospital. And as I was sitting there listening to this, I found out that the allegations were actually 7 weeks prior. So they had left the minor in the care of the alleged kind of perpetrator for 7 weeks. So I was listening to this and kind of, after the meeting was over, I just assumed that the woman was asking the question. She was a small woman. I assumed she was a female Garda, given the context of the situation and the gravity of the situation. And the next day I rang James Kennedy to find out what was the Garda's next approach, and he informed me that she wasn't a Garda, that she was an employee from Waterford Tussla. So you had Waterford Tussla investigating Waterford Tussla, who already had failed by letting the person in the care of the person for 7 weeks. And they said that this doctor, that this person conducting the interview, that she had found that there was no concern. Of course she did, because they'd already left the person there, as I said, for 7 weeks. They said that the girl who reported what she had seen, they moved her, blaming her for being troublesome. So I was questioning, when are the guards going to get involved? And this woman had decided that she was going to keep it internal and it wasn't going to be brought to the guards. I also found out then that woman's name was Dr. Anne Carey. Now, this was 10 years prior. I didn't recognise this woman 10 years later, because as I said, I only met her the one time out in Narkeen Hospital. But she's unique. She's only about 5'1". But that's the serious of the situation with Dr. Anne Carey. And nobody else knows this. So in 2013, we were going up and down to the house, up to the tutor's house. Obviously, like, students shouldn't be in a tutor's house. That's a whole other kind of breaching code of conduct, code of ethics there that should have been looked into. And what happened is my ex was crying on this woman's shoulder, kind of giving her the whole kind of blaming her mother for everything. She had such a hard life. Her story would change every single time. It was easier for me to just say nothing, because I got to keep the kids in trial, and I love the kids. But she was manipulating this psychologist. The psychologist was manipulating her. The further we got into it, they gave us exercise books, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. When you finish stage 1, you move on to stage 2, and so on and so forth. And it was all questions about, what do you think it is? What do you think of the church? How would you react about this? It was basically condition, getting information out there so they can profile you. And she was hanging on to the books, this Dr. Anne Carey. And I find this stuff kind of embarrassing to talk about. I find this more embarrassing than the pornography stuff that was spread around about me. And they ostracise you. If you're not a Baha'i, you're not allowed to mix with non-Baha'i people outside. Unless you're going to work, you can mix it. Other than that, you have to spend all your social times within this group. And they promote that the person behind you watches the person in front of you. The person in front of you watches the person behind them. And this goes on. Everybody's watching each other. And if anybody has any kind of doubts or questions, it has to be brought back to the recruit, which would be Dr. Anne Carey. Any people that are questioning the religion, you're not allowed to question this religion in any way, shape or form. You're supposed to just give yourself to it without question. They basically kind of brainwash you for all the world. But as I said, I was only doing this because I didn't want the kids to come back to Ballymun. But my ex was loving the attention. She was there spinning her lies. And this Dr. Anne Carey was kind of nodding along, letting her lie along. She was obviously just roping her in, being the mother figure that she wanted. And it kind of slowly got out of hand, and I didn't really know what to do because it was embarrassing, it was weird, I didn't know how to speak to my family. On one occasion, my ex, who was my partner at the time, she tried to push the new beginning on my mother. This is their version of the Bible. And my mother told her about worshipping false gods and told her where she should put the book. But my ex then, because she was having private meetings in the evening up in the house. After she finished her hair kind of 9, 10 o'clock, she would call into the house and she'd stay up there kind of till 11 o'clock learning this kind of bad high thing. But she told them how my mother reacted, because my mother would have been a practicing Catholic. So I got called to a meeting, and the meeting was by Pat Carey. And Pat Carey, the husband of Anne Carey, he told me that it was okay if my family was against this. He was alluding to the fact that the way my mother was after kind of treating kind of my ex based on her trying to push this thing onto her. It's kind of like a pyramid scheme where you're obliged to bring in people, vulnerable people, not strong-minded people. It has to be vulnerable people, and you don't tell them at the start it's a religion. It's super important. You do not tell them it's a religion at the start. You try and get their kids involved. You try and get their family members involved. You share them with as much attention. You try and get as many secrets out of the people. This is what you do, and then that's held over their head. But Pat Carey told me that it's fine, that they were going to be my new family. This was probably about 10 months into this. And I didn't say anything. I was just kind of going along with this stuff, being honest with you. And he told me how his wife, Anne Carey, was from Kerry. And none of her family speaks to this woman. They're under the impression that she's involved in the cult. But all of this was all kept secret. So I just kind of nodded my head and kind of like just left him say what he had to say, and that was it. And as I said, he was still my psychology teacher. So I was going down and I was listening to him, and in the class, as soon as someone would kind of stray away from the group, he would kind of like, he would start spinning his bow high. Have you ever heard of bow high? Do you know what bow high is? Then on the 25th of July, on 2014, they had a kind of kids' day out down in Kilkenny. They rent out the college, Kilkenny College, when the students are not there for the weekend. So we went down. It's supposed to be kids' day out. My ex's best friend, she was also there with her kids. So we went down. As I said, it was supposed to be kids' day out, but they had shops set up selling all these merchandise, Bibles and all this kind of stuff. And there's all these like-minded Bahois. And I don't want to be horrible now, but there was kind of like easily influenced people kind of there. And then there was people with a superior complex almost looking down their nose. And they were introducing me ex, like she was the next messiah. And she was loving this thing. They were going on about saying this person has so much potential. When you hear this story, she'd be able to help bring in so many people. And my ex was loving this. And I was looking at our best friend, and she was looking at me, and we were just rolling our eyes, because we know the carry on of my ex and the stuff that she would really be doing. But this kids' day out, there was lectures on. So we went to one or two of the lectures, and I felt there was people almost in the audience that were strategically placed there to ask certain questions that you might have had that you didn't want to ask. People would ask these questions, and they had a rehearsed answer to give. And then this kids' day out of what it was supposed to be, they were supposed to be brought off to make pizza. Now I wasn't happy about being separated with the kids, I don't mind saying, but my ex was my ex was always the one to please, so she left the kids be brought off. So when the kids came back, I asked them what it was like making pizza. They weren't allowed to make the pizza though, unless they repeatedly chanted this prayer over and over again, making the pizza though. Like basic conditions what it was. So I was like far from happy with this. Then I went to go to the shop. You had to ask for permission to get the front gates open to go to the shop. And I know that sounds trivial and all this, but when you're asking kind of for the gates to be open and you're in amongst a load of people who don't want the gates open, you kind of stand out like a sore thumb. You're kind of looked at like a non-believer, do you know what I mean? Like the wolf amongst the sheep. I can't explain this kind of like, it's just a strange psychology that was clearly being done. Conditioning at the utmost level. But we went down, I got them to open the gates, I wasn't happy, made sure we got the gates open, we went out to the shop. So obviously that kind of rubbed them up the wrong way. And then we came back, we found out that it wasn't actually a kids' day, it was actually a weekend. And by staying there the weekend, you have dorms upstairs and you all sleep in the dorms. And if you stayed there the weekend, it would show your loyalty to this group. I said no way was I kind of staying there, neither was the kids. The kids when it was past all the kind of enjoyment of this. They wanted out of it, I wanted out of it. So we left, and on the way back I had an argument with my ex, and she basically said that she was doing this, and if I didn't want to do it, like, so be it. So for the next couple of months then they tried to lure me back, and I wouldn't go back. They would have kind of kids day out, but I couldn't go because I wasn't a bow anymore. So I was purposely excluded. They were basically trying to lure me back in, using the kids to get me back in. I wouldn't do it. Then one night we were going to get intimate, myself and my ex, and she stopped just me about to kind of like have sex. And she said that she wasn't allowed to have sex with me anymore, that Anne had told her that she wasn't to have sex with me anymore unless I converted to be a Bahoy. At this time she had went off, she got brought into some secret place in town and converted to be a Bahoy. I wanted to be told about where this place was, but I wasn't going to be kind of manipulated or pushed into kind of converting into this crap. And as I said, he was still my psychology teacher. And I got so fed up with this stuff then, I wouldn't go back to the psychology class. I wouldn't go back to the psychology course. I was so sick of it. I did not speak to these people. I detested these people, if I'm being honest with you. And this would have been from around September 2014 onwards. And they tried everything. They tried to tell me that if I just come back to the psychology course, that all my work was done. All I had to do was sit in the classroom and I would get my grade. And I refused to even sit in the classroom with this person. That's how much I detested these people. I refused to sit in the classroom even to get me grade. I didn't have to do any work. And Aunt Carrie would be down the house morning, noon and night. She'd be dropping down books, meeting me ex to have these talks. I would just go upstairs with the kids and just watch TV. I didn't want to be around this person. But what I was doing, I was warning her hair clients and telling people, don't be lured into this, that it was a cult. So obviously I was kind of deemed a risk. I was warning people, don't join this kind of stuff, that it was a cult. So what they were doing then is they were trying to mess with me head. When I'd walk into a room, me ex and Aunt Carrie would walk out of the room. When I'd walk back in, they'd walk out. This kind of stuff that was going on. They'd be constantly whispering in the same room, standing at the other side, whispering about me. I know this makes me sound paranoid or have neurosis or kind of, but this is the whole point of this kind of stuff. It got to the point where the eldest child started laughing and asked them why they were doing this. She thought it was some kind of game that they were doing. So I had enough of this, and I went back to the apartment that I had. We used to use the apartment, as I said, to take drugs, watch porn, have sex, all this kind of stuff. So I went back there, I had enough of it. But then my father got sick a couple of weeks later. So I was brought back down to the house then, because they wanted to make it look like they were the all caring and kind of lovable people that they were kind of pretending to be. And my head was kind of all over the place, from being honest, because I was concerned about my father. My father turned out to be gravely ill. This was around November, and my family was calling to the house because they were bringing me out to the hospital. So they seen me in the house. They thought I was living there. They thought I was all dandy. My ex was all draped all over me, pretending to be the caring girlfriend. And my father passed away in January 2015 then. And my ex didn't bring the kids. Now my father would have been very close to the two kids. And my ex didn't bring the kids because they knew I didn't speak to Anne and Pat Carey. But what she did do is she brought Anne and Pat Carey to my father's funeral. And I couldn't even read a piece I had written for my father at his graveside. And I was looking around as she was draped all over me for everybody to see, pretending she was the caring girlfriend. And what happened then is her friend was there. As I said, her best friend knew my father. She met my father once or twice, so she came to the funeral. And she was like, what the hell are they doing here? She couldn't believe it that these people would turn up to my father's funeral. Because she also knew I didn't speak to these people. Because remember, I wouldn't even go back to the psychology course to collect a grade. All I had to do was sit in the class. And that person recognised who Aunt Carrie was, and they had a brief conversation. And they were about 10 metres away from me. And I was standing there and I was staring over at them. And then Dr. Aunt Carrie realised then that I was after putting two and two together, and I realised who she was. And the person that she was having a conversation with was the minor of the case that I spoke about previously, that she pulled strings to make it go no further. And that minor was at the recogniser, and they had a conversation, and she seen me looking over and she realised that I now knew who she was. So after the funeral we went home. I only spent 2 or 3 hours in the afters. I don't drink. I didn't want to be around alcohol, to be honest with you. And we went home, and I told my ex, I know who Aunt Carrie is, and I told her everything. I knew exactly who this was. And she literally turned around, walked out the door, this was around 4 o'clock in the day, and ran up to Aunt Carrie. and she was gone for about 4 hours. And I was under to bury my father like a couple of hours beforehand, and she came back down to the house around 8 or 9 o'clock that night, and she was all whistling and singing on the top of her voice, being all overly happy. Said she was going to Dublin the next day in the morning for a chillax, her and the kids. This is what she was doing, trying to mess with me head. But the cat was out of the bag. That's who Aunt Carrie was, and that was her involvement in my life. And that was in 2000. That was in January 2015. And I had joined the Bahoy in 2013. And nobody else knows this. They started all this slander, which I will explain in the next bit. They started all of this in around the start of 2016. But that's what Dr. Anne Carey is, and this is what she's trying to hide. Woman is beyond corrupt and beyond evil, in my opinion. But I have to explain this kind of situation in an effort to give you context of who these people are. So my ex went up to Dublin, and my sister called the next day. I remember I was never so embarrassed, and she was asking me like, where was she? Where's the kids gone? Like, because I was only at to bury my father. And I kind of told her that she had important hair for the wedding and she couldn't cancel it because, I know, I never felt so embarrassed. But that was in January 2015. And when she'd gone then, I moved back to my apartment. I gathered my stuff and I was gone. She texted me saying, be gone out of the house. But I was gone anyway, being honest with you. And there was about a month of back and forth kind of like swapping kind of nasty text messages and kind of all this kind of stuff. So I had enough of it. So I just went to a solicitor then in February, and I started legal proceedings for guardianship, custody and access. And that was with Jim Halley. And I don't have any fault with Jim Halley. I ended up changing from Jim Halley on the advice of a person named Joe. I can't think of this person's second name, but he's the neighbour of Leona MacDonald, the solicitor who I ended up being told to get and who corrupted my case further. And I'll explain all this in the next part of the video. But even by what I'm just after saying there now, it'll give you some kind of context about just how serious this is. And I did make a complaint actually afterwards, I meant to say, about a Pat Carey and a recruiting kind of from the classroom. And there's the letter from the Tramore ETB, look. The person doing the complaint, he wrote on it with a biro photocopy to try to pretend that it was had been investigated years ago. And because it was printed off of a computer, allegedly, I asked if I could see the properties to show the date of when the file was actually made, and he told me don't contact him ever again. And this is what they said for Pat, and this is what the excuse that was given. Pat was informed of two concerns and replied, following the interest from learners, he offered information on the Baha'i faith. This occurred outside the classroom during breaks during conversation. So he basically tried to say that people randomly just happened to bring up this obscure religion that he and his wife just happened to be recruiting for. And not only that, they tried to say because it was on the lunch break that they weren't accountable for the breach in code of ethics. But he would have been paid while he was on the lunch break because it was on the grounds of the Tramore ETB. So basically he got his actions covered up. So I'll take it from there in the next video, and you can see how more serious this gets, because this is only the tip of the iceberg. And when you see how kind of crazy this stuff gets, because what this Dr. Anne Carey and my ex done in an effort to try and push me out of my community, like, it's kind of deplorable. And they all spread all this sexual slander. All these cronies within Waterford who were already corrupt, they just got exposed for being corrupt because I refused to go. And now they're trying to cling into the narrative that it was some kind of moral issue. It's not, it's corruption. It's not more than corruption and cronyism. And I'm refusing to bow down to this. So I'll explain all this. And as I said, I don't want to bring a case against everyone. There's just kind of 2 or 3 people between Waterford City Council and Waterford Gardaí. And I'll leave it there for now anyway, so thanks, bye.